More than 200 violent rioters were at a Chicago ICE facility chanting, "Arrest ICE, shoot ICE." At least one had a gun.
I am outraged by what's happening, and we're seeing that ICE just doesn't give a damn. And neither does the President of the United States.
Every day, ICE agents make the community safer because every public safety threat, every national security threat we arrest makes that community safer. It's simple math. But they hate President Trump more than they love their communities.
There's just a mix of the different voices in this conversation about possible military troops in Chicago to conduct public safety efforts, while Democrats in Illinois and Chicago say it's just an effort to entice and encourage chaos. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, editor of Illinois at thecentersquare.com. Go check out the headlines at thecentersquare.com each and every weekday morning. You can wake up with us here for Illinois in Focus Daily. So yesterday we reviewed some of the viral videos of protesters clashing in the streets with federal law enforcement, with lots of video cameras all over the place. Clearly there was some obstruction that was going on, with people standing in the middle of the road blocking federal vehicles from conducting federal law enforcement, and several arrests as well. We had Pam Bondi, the U.S. Attorney General, release a video over the weekend, and here's just some of that.
More than 200 violent rioters were at a Chicago ICE facility chanting, "Arrest ICE, shoot ICE." At least one had a gun.
I am outraged by what's happening, and
One had a gun. These are not peaceful protests. These are coordinated attacks by radical extremists, and they end now. Anyone who threatens or assaults our federal officers will be arrested and charged federally, not in some liberal state court.
So Bondi announcing that over the weekend. Then you had the Department of Homeland Security announce that 5 individuals were arrested and 2 of them had guns. And now you've got the U.S. Department of Justice for the Northern District of Illinois with this headline: 5 individuals charged in federal courts in Chicago with assaulting or resisting federal agents engaged in immigration enforcement operations. So it goes on to say that this happened over the weekend in Broadview, Illinois. The defendants were among a crowd of people who descended in front of the entrance of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility Saturday evening. In front of the entrance of that facility, the charges allege that the defendants made criminal physical contact against the agents who were trying to ensure safe passage for detainees and vehicles getting in and out of the building. 2 of the defendants possessed loaded firearms while assaulting federal agents, according to the federal complaint. Under my leadership, the Chicago U.S. Attorney's Office will take swift action, Andrew Boutros said. He's the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois. Went on to discuss who these individuals are. The defendants: 31-year-old from Chicago, 30-year-old from Chicago, 26-year-old from Oak Park, 70-year-old from Rockford, and a 21-year-old from Medina, Illinois. And you can see some of the charges there. One, getting felony assault of an officer, allegedly possessing a loaded handgun. Another, felony assault of an officer, allegedly possessing a handgun. Another, felony assault of an officer, allegedly grabbed the agent's helmet and pulled the agents down. Allegedly told the agents, "I'll expletive kill you right now." 70-year-old charged with felony assault of a federal officer, allegedly making physical contact with the agent's arm while the agent attempted to extend the safety perimeter around the facility. And another individual charged with forcibly resisting, opposing, impeding, and interfering with a federal officer. That's a misdemeanor. So you've got all of these charges here announced by the Department of Justice yesterday. And this came as Governor J.B. Pritzker was holding a news conference, making an announcement that he became aware that the Trump administration is looking to bring troops, federal troops, into Chicago.
The Illinois National Guard received word that the Department of Homeland Security has sent a memo to the Department of War seeking the deployment of 100 military troops to Illinois, claiming a need for the protection of ICE personnel and facilities. What I have been warning of is now being realized. One thing is clear: none of what Trump is doing is making Illinois safer.
So Pritzker talked about he is getting wind that 100 military troops coming to Chicago, and he said already ICE is militarized, and he gave examples of people being stopped on the streets, being asked for their papers, and tamale vendors being targeted, and people being targeted for their skin color.
What would we call it? If federal agents marched down busy streets, harassing civilians and demanding their papers, what would we say? I don't think we'd have any trouble calling it what it is: authoritarianism.
He went on to criticize the Trump administration, saying that they are targeting people based off their skin color.
They're not targeting violent criminals or gang members. They're arresting tamale vendors and delivery men and shaking down families. Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and Tom Homan said they were targeting the worst of the worst criminals. They lied, and they continue to lie. 60% of the individuals that ICE has taken in Illinois this year have no criminal convictions of any kind.
Are they here illegally, though? Because that's the ultimate question that ICE, at least, is interested in, not just with criminal detainers, but also civil detainers. And Pritzker had a message for ICE.
With one voice, we are telling this unwarranted and unconstitutional occupation by ICE and potentially by military troops to get out of Chicago. You are not helping us.
He goes on with some Q&A. We'll get to that in a moment, but I wanted to flash back to Tom Homan in Dallas earlier this month at the State Freedom Caucus Network annual summit, and he explained why ICE is, quote, flooding the zone because sanctuary cities aren't cooperating with law enforcement on a federal level.
Then you got these sanctuary mayors and governors that say, well, we're a sanctuary city because we're a welcoming community. We want illegal aliens, victims, and witnesses of crime to feel comfortable reporting crime to the police without fear or working with ICE. That's victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy in their neighborhood either. That's common sense. So sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the neighborhood, more collateral arrests, more worksite investigations. Because we can't find them in the community, we'll find them at the worksite because they all got jobs. So congratulations. Now they're bitching about it. Well, hang on tight, because you ain't seen anything yet.
So is that what we're seeing here? The increased efforts of federal law enforcement to enforce immigration law being a symptom of the state and the city and the county being sanctuary cities for these particular activities, non-citizens, illegal immigrants being able to operate within the society. So you've got the ongoing Democrat lineup here yesterday in Chicago. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, he seemed to all of a sudden be concerned about the use of tax dollars and where they're going, and he claims that there's a corruption here.
More than 90% of the immigration detention centers are run by private and for-profit corporations. The Trump administration has already engaged in no-bid contracts with private prison contractors across the United States. Executives at private prison firms are calling this a gold rush, as their stocks have soared by as much as 80%.
Goes on to talk about the money involved in all of this and the profits for the private prisons. And it's interesting in Illinois, it's not just the Trust Act that prohibited local and state police from cooperating with ICE. You also had a Way Forward Act that increased those prohibitions some more, and other measures that Illinois has implemented prohibiting local sheriffs from allowing local county jails jails to be used by ICE when they have a detention and they're processing somebody. They would possibly go to a county sheriff and say, hey, do you have a few beds? We've got some illegal immigrants here we need to house while we get them processed. And state law prohibits that. So where else are you going to put these detainees, these illegal immigrants who are detained by ICE, getting processed for deportation? Can't put them in a taxpayer-funded county jail, so they're going to have to go into a private prison. So interesting to hear that, but they are also worried about the liability costs of federal officers possibly crossing the line and getting sued, and the taxpayer costs there. Johnson's worried about the taxpayers.
By the time this is over, there will be hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars wasted in settlements related to the excessive use of force and the unconstitutional actions of this administration.
It's interesting Johnson raises that as the city of Chicago right now is over budget for their police misconduct payouts. They're looking at $230 million or something in payouts, and that just blasted through their something like $80 million budget. So interesting to hear that yesterday. You also had Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul there talking about how this is all seems to him to be a ploy by the Trump administration to spark and bring about chaos.
What the president is hoping to do is foment chaos by inciting out-of-control protests. So I urge Illinoisans, don't take the bait. There is no emergency in Chicago. Don't help him create one.
The governor, taking some questions yesterday, acknowledged that there is no communication going back and forth between the White House and local authorities.
They are not communicating with the city of Chicago, with the state of Illinois, with Cook County, with Broadview, with anybody. They are going at this because, I don't know, Greg Bavino is putting up his TikTok videos, and it's giving a misimpression of what's happening on the ground. We have peaceful protesters, as they have all across the country, by the way. People are peacefully protesting. And we have, in response to that, chemical agents being fired at people. Indeed, people who are doing nothing more than sitting in their cars. Reporters being detained. So the provocation is coming from ICE, and with clear intent to have the federal government send military troops.
So the governor also acknowledged that there's no cooperation going on between the two. And fired off.
Terrific when they get somebody who's a criminal and take them off the streets. Fantastic. But this is not the way law enforcement ought to be allowed to operate. It's not constitutional to just round up the usual suspects, just to stop people because they're black or brown and demand papers. And if they don't have papers, to detain them and in some cases disappear them. And I am outraged by what's happening. And we're seeing that ICE just doesn't give a damn. And neither does the President of the United States. He's doing nothing to intervene to make it better. Clearly, he's the one who ordered them to do what they're doing on the ground, and they're carrying out his orders.
And then Homan, flashing back to earlier this month, again, he said they're flooding the zone because the sanctuary cities aren't cooperating with federal officials enforcing the law that's on the books.
So President Trump committed, we're going to prioritize sanctuary cities. I agree 100%. We talked about it. Why? Because we know there's a problem. We know they're releasing public safety threats every day. It's like sending the firemen to the biggest fire. That's what we're doing. It's not because they're blue. It's because they're sanctuary cities and they're releasing criminals every hour. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going to flood the zone.
Homan went on to try to rationalize in his head why Democrats are so vocal against ICE coming into their communities to get illegal immigrants.
Every day, ICE agents make the community safer because every public safety threat, every national security threat we arrest makes that community safer. It's simple. It's simple math. But they hate President Trump more than they love their communities. There's no other reason. I can't think why would you not join forces with us?
Much more to come on this story. The governor's got several other events today that some opportunity to hear some more Q&A from the governor. So we'll be monitoring that and see what else happens outside Broadview. And keep you updated here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Each and every weekday morning, I'm Greg Bishop, editor of the Center Square, right here on YouTube with Illinois in Focus Daily.